David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney+. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney+ every night.
Tonight, the breaking news just as we come on the air tonight, the major anti-ICE protests unfolding across the country at this hour. Former CNN host Don Lemon arrested in court just moments ago. And actress Catherine O'Hara has died. What we've learned tonight. First, the images coming in at this hour. Tens of thousands of people in the streets of Minneapolis protesting against ICE and against President Trump's immigration crackdown. Similar scenes from Los Angeles to Raleigh to New York. Also, independent journalist Don Lemon arrested.
I'm not part of the group. I'm just here photographing. I'm a journalist.
Lemon in court moments ago. Matt Rivers on the news just coming in now from Minneapolis. Also breaking tonight, the Justice Department releasing an avalanche of files linked to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. More than 3 million pages of documents released tonight. President Trump's name referenced hundreds of times. But what the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche is now saying about the president and Jeffrey Epstein. Tonight, we're also watching this new storm about to hit, slamming parts of the East, Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia. States of emergency at this hour. Blizzard conditions expected, record-setting snow, and the track as it gets closer to the Northeast. Lee Goldberg has the forecast. Tonight here, the tributes pouring in for award-winning actress Catherine O'Hara.
Kevin!
A comedy legend, so many iconic roles from Home Alone to Best in Show to Beetlejuice, then Schitt's Creek, and most recently, The Studio. We'll look back at her career and what we've learned about her sudden passing. And tonight here, her Home Alone co-star Macaulay Culkin with an emotional message. In New York City, will alleged CEO killer Luigi Mangione face the death penalty? What a judge has decided tonight. This evening, President Trump reveals his pick to replace Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Tonight, the Republican senator standing in the way and what he says must happen before this moves forward. In New York City, the horrific scene in an ER, the dramatic body camera video, the deadly police shooting a man armed with a sharp object. And tonight, just days before the Winter Olympics now, American skier Lindsey Vonn crashing, airlifted from the slopes. Her condition right here tonight.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight here with the breaking news. Major protests across the U.S. playing out at this hour. Demonstrations against ICE and against President Trump's immigration crackdown. The images coming in, tens of thousands of people in the streets of Minneapolis braving the brutal cold, part of a nationwide protest. Tonight, similar scenes playing out from Los Angeles to Raleigh to New York. It comes as federal agents arrest former CNN anchor and now independent journalist Don Lemon. Lemon was inside a church in St. Paul. He was reporting when protesters interrupted that church service, upset over a pastor's job with ICE. Authorities also arresting independent journalist Georgia Ford. She captured the moment when a masked agent can be seen in the window of her home, showing up looking for her. That former CNN anchor Don Lemon in court just moments ago, and ABC's Matt Rivers leads us off with the breaking news now from Minneapolis tonight.
Tonight, massive protests in Minneapolis. Tens of thousands marching through the streets of downtown.
People are out here taking to the streets, braving the bitter cold with a clear message. They don't approve of the ICE crackdown in their community.
Students walking out of class, some businesses closing in solidarity, part of nationwide so-called ICE out protests.
Our streets!
A sea of protesters from Minneapolis to Los Angeles to San Francisco and New York City. With tensions soaring, tonight the Justice Department now launching a federal investigation into the killing of ICU nurse Alex Preddy. The Deputy Attorney General acknowledging that includes a civil rights investigation.
We're looking at everything that would shed light on what happened that day and in the days and weeks leading up to what happened.
Pardon me, sir. Sorry about that.
And tonight, federal agents arresting former CNN anchor and now independent journalist Don Lemon and 3 more people in connection with this church protest in St. Paul, Minnesota.
ICE out! ICE out!
Anti-ICE protesters disrupting Sunday service nearly 2 weeks ago, where one of the pastors is also the director of an ICE field office. Lemon was inside covering that protest, interviewing church members.
I'm not part of the group. I'm just here photographing. I'm a journalist.
Sources telling ABC News Lemon was arrested at a Beverly Hills hotel overnight where he was covering the Grammy Awards. Authorities also arresting independent journalist Georgia Fort.
Agents are at my door right now.
She captured video showing masked agents peering through her front window.
We have the
journalist live streaming as she was taken into custody.
When you can just be arrested for being a member of the press, we've seen all these violations. All right, you guys, I got to go. They're knocking.
Late today, Fort was released from custody. Attorney General Pam Bondi saying the arrests happened at her direction, calling this in a social media post a, quote, coordinated attack at that church.
You have the right to worship freely and safely. And if I haven't been clear already, if you violate that sacred right, we are coming after you.
Lemon's legal team firing back, calling it an unprecedented attack on the First Amendment. A federal judge had previously rejected the DOJ's attempt to charge Lemon, finding no evidence of criminal behavior. And just moments ago, Lemon making his first court appearance in Los Angeles. The indictment just unsealed, alleging Lemon and others went into the church and occupied space, physically obstructing those inside. The judge ordering Lemon be released. Lemon addressing reporters outside court.
I have spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. And I will not be silent. I look forward to my day in court.
Back here in Minneapolis tonight, tens of thousands taking to the streets, demanding change.
Are you hopeful things are going to change? Are you skeptical?
I'm hopeful and skeptical. I'm hopeful they'll change, but after listening to Trump this morning saying, no, they're not backing down, who do you believe? Holman or him? I don't know.
And David, it was just 24 hours ago that U.S. Border Czar Tom Homan suggested that a drawdown in federal agents was coming. But overnight, President Trump, talking about this issue, asked if the federal operation was pulling back. He said no, not at all. David?
Matt Rivers leading us off tonight from Minneapolis. Matt, thank you. Also breaking tonight, the Justice Department releasing more than 3 million pages of documents related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. President Trump's name referenced hundreds of times. But what the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche is saying tonight about the president and Jeffrey Epstein. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, the Justice Department releasing more than 3 million pages of documents from the FBI's investigation into sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche declaring they have now fully complied with the law.
Today's release marks the end of a very comprehensive document identification and review process to ensure transparency to the American people.
In a letter to Congress, Blanche and Attorney General Pam Bondi acknowledge approximately 200,000 pages have been redacted or withheld based on various privileges. DOJ says they're withholding nearly 3 million other documents for various reasons, including victim privacy, and because they contain images of child sexual abuse. And critics point out today's release comes 40 days after DOJ was required by law to hand over the files. I asked the Deputy Attorney General, who used to be President Trump's personal lawyer, whether all material related to the president had been released. Trump and Epstein were friends in the 1990s before they had a falling out.
Can you assure the American public that President Trump, like every other prominent person whose name came up in relation to the Epstein files, that all documents, photos, and anything relevant to him connected to the case are being released?
I mean, yes, I can assure that we complied with the statute, we complied with the act, and there is no, we did not protect President Trump, we didn't protect or not protect anybody.
President Trump's name comes up thousands of times, mostly in news articles, but also in emails written by Epstein himself. Blanche today telling Fox News, in none of these communications, even when he's doing his best to disparage President Trump, did Epstein suggest President Trump had done anything criminal or had any inappropriate contact with any of his victims. The documents released today include records of unverified tips to investigators, including some uncorroborated information pertaining to President Trump, former President Clinton, and other high-profile individuals. Trump and Clinton have both denied any wrongdoing and any knowledge of Epstein's crimes. And the Justice Department said the tips led nowhere. The Deputy Attorney General insisting a review of the files did not uncover evidence anyone else should be charged with crimes.
I don't think that the public or you all are going to uncover men within the Epstein files that abuse women, unfortunately.
Today's release did offer evidence of Epstein's relationships with the rich and powerful, including Elon Musk. In a number of emails, Musk and Epstein seemed to be discussing plans for Musk to visit Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. In one 2012 email, Musk asking, "What day night will be the wildest party on your island?" Musk says he never went to the island. The files released today indicate President Trump's current Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, apparently did plan a visit to Epstein's island. The men were neighbors in Manhattan. Lutnick recently said that in 2005, he decided he did not want anything to do with Epstein.
My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Really? So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
But the newly released documents indicate that 7 years later, when Lutnick was visiting the Caribbean with his wife and other friends and family, he apparently emailed looking to set up a dinner on Epstein's island, writing, "Does Sunday evening sound good?" A few days later, Epstein's assistant sending Lutnick this message: "Jeffrey wished me to pass along the below to you. Nice seeing you." Tonight, the Commerce Department saying Secretary Lutnick had limited interactions with Mr. Epstein in the presence of his wife and has never been accused of wrongdoing. Tonight, a group of Epstein survivors releasing this statement. This latest release of Jeffrey Epstein is being sold as transparency, but what it actually does is expose survivors. Once again, survivors are having their names and identifying information exposed, while the men who abused us remain hidden and protected. That is outrageous. This is a betrayal of the very people this process is supposed to serve. The Deputy Attorney General predicted with such a large volume of material, there would be mistakes. He says the department has put in place a way for victims to contact DOJ for immediate redactions and other fixes. David?
Pierre Thomas on the developing headlines tonight. Pierre, thank you. We turn now to this major storm at this hour about to hit, slamming parts of the East, Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia, states of emergency already. Blizzard conditions are expected, record-setting snow in some places. And what the track does, as you see it there, is it moves right up into the Northeast. Let's get right to WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg back with us here tonight. Hey, Lee.
Hey, David, and this punishing cold in the east driving this new winter storm. Look at the cold weather alerts from New Orleans all the way to West Palm Beach and just to the north. The winter storm warnings, Georgia, the Carolinas, and into Virginia. It's already snowing inland, but this really takes shape tomorrow. Some of the heaviest snow later in the day into the evening, potentially blizzard conditions. Look at Augusta, Raleigh, Norfolk, all very heavy snow. But this doesn't hug the coast. It spares the Northeast. Maybe a flake on the eastern end of Long Island, some light snow on the Cape. We get some wind and coastal flooding, but not the major snows. That's for the Carolinas. 6 to 12 inches of snow, blizzard conditions, even whiteout and brutally cold on the backside. 20s in Miami. The feel like reading on Sunday morning. It could have some flakes in Tampa with Gulf effect snow. David?
Lee Goldberg back with us tonight. Lee, thank you. We learned today that award-winning actress Catherine O'Hara has died. The Emmy-winning actress, her iconic roles. Tonight here, we look back at her extraordinary career.
Kevin's not here.
Catherine O'Hara was a comedic icon. Her grace, her wit, her physical comedy. O'Hara, an Emmy-winning actress, charming audiences for decades.
This wine is all full. Give me another glass.
Generations falling in love with her characters, she was the perfect, imperfect mother.
I'm pretty sure parents are supposed to put their children before themselves.
Oh, really? No, if airplane safety videos have taught me anything, David, it's that a mother puts her own mask on first.
Born and raised in Canada, she rose to fame there as part of the Second City Toronto comedy group.
Oh, look, an indoor outhouse.
Her breakout role in Beetlejuice in 1988.
I would rather talk about
that song and dance scene. It was on that movie set she would meet her husband, Bo Welch, a production designer, and Johnny Carson would ask about him.
Is your boyfriend?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too personal, but...
Then don't.
Then perhaps her most famous role as the mother who forgot her son on Home Alone.
Did you close the garage?
That's it. I forgot to close the garage, that's it.
No, that's not it.
What else could we be forgetting?
Kevin!
She forgot her son when they left on vacation and then spent the whole movie trying to get back home to him.
I have been awake for almost 60 hours. I'm tired and I'm dirty. I have been from Chicago to Paris to Dallas to... Where the hell am I?
Scranton.
I am trying to get home to my 8-year-old son.
Ma'am, if...
And I don't care if I have to get out on your runway and hitchhike. If it costs me everything I own. If I have to sell my soul to the devil himself. I am going to get home to my son.
She would stay connected with actor Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, thanks, Mama.
Oh, darling baby.
Years later, with him when he got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, reminiscing about one of those scenes.
The scene where I had to drag him upstairs to sleep in the attic because he'd misbehaved.
I didn't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life.
I was supposed to say, then say it again. Maybe it'll happen. And I can't tell you how much that killed me. I could not wrap my head around saying something so horrific to this beautiful child. Of course, I was not yet a mother at the time, and I had no idea the kind of things that would come out of my mouth with my own 2 sons.
Catherine O'Hara's career spanning decades, the largely improvised movie Best in Show in 2000.
She was very popular back then. She had dozens of boyfriends.
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Actor Eugene Levy playing her husband, back together years later on Schitt's Creek.
Be careful, John, lest you suffer vertigo from the dizzying heights of your moral ground.
Husband and wife again.
So good of you to come.
John said we had no choice.
She would win an Emmy for that role.
Oh, and are the pillows feather or foam?
Yes.
Sorry, which one?
I don't care.
And just last year, she would earn 2 more Emmy nominations, one for The Last of Us and one for her role in Seth Rogen's The Studio.
Who are all these people? I don't recognize any of them.
They're influencers. Most of them don't even go inside. They just make their red carpet TikToks and leave.
We learned today that Catherine O'Hara died at home in Los Angeles following a brief illness. Tonight here, Catherine O'Hara in her own words.
Great at my age to be able to be goofy and have fun like this. And I should be so lucky to have that opportunity to still be doing that kind of, this kind of silliness.
Catherine O'Hara was just 71 years old. Later here with actor Macaulay Culkin, his emotional message tonight about his home alone mom and his friend all these years. That's later. In the meantime, we move on to the other news this Friday night. To alleged CEO killer Luigi Mangione, he will not face the death penalty. A federal judge dismissing a federal murder charge that made Brian Thompson's killing a capital offense. Mangione could face a maximum sentence now of life in prison. The judge also ruling today evidence seized from Mangione's backpack can be presented at his federal trial. Tonight, President Trump announcing his pick to take over as chair of the Federal Reserve, former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh. Warsh would replace current chair Jerome Powell. Trump has repeatedly targeted Powell over interest rates. Powell's term ends in May. Powell is now under criminal investigation. Tonight, Republican Senator Thom Tillis warning he plans to join the Democrats in opposing any Fed nomination until, quote, the DOJ's inquiry into Chairman Powell is fully and transparently resolved. When we come back here tonight, what Macaulay Culkin is saying about actress Catherine O'Hara. This is emotional, his message coming up. Also, the images tonight, the horrific scene. This is an ER in New York City. The deadly police shooting a man armed with a sharp object. Also, the chaotic airport takedown, a man rushing a TSA checkpoint, a traveler actually jumping in to stop him. And just days now before the Winter Olympics, Lindsey Vonn crashes. She's airlifted from the slopes to the hospital. We do have news on her condition coming in a moment here. We'll be right back. Tonight here, the troubling video just now released after that deadly police shooting at a hospital in New York City. Officers can be seen shouting to the man to drop what they thought was a knife in the ER in Brooklyn earlier this month. Police saying the man locked himself in that room with 2 people at a sharp object, threatening to kill staffers. Police say tasers did not work, prompting officers to open fire when he advanced towards them. Tonight, the video of a man being tackled during a security breach at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta Airport. Police say Fabian Leon is seen on this video from last October, knocking down a TSA worker and rushing the checkpoint. The video just now released. A traveler actually stepping in and slamming him to the ground. TSA agents surrounding him. He breaks away but gets taken down again and handcuffed. He now faces assault charges. When we come back tonight, Lindsey Vonn injured on the slopes, airlifted away. We do have news on her condition just days before the Olympics in a moment. To the index with just days until the Winter Olympics, American skier Lindsey Vonn crashing in Switzerland. Vonn losing control after landing a jump and then crashing, airlifted to the hospital. We learned she injured her knee. Tonight, Vonn saying of the Olympics, "If there's one thing I know how to do, it's a comeback. My Olympic dream is not over." When we come back here, what Macaulay Culkin is saying tonight about his Home Alone mom. Tonight, actor Macaulay Culkin's heartfelt farewell to actress Catherine O'Hara, his Home Alone mom. Culkin writing, "Mama, I thought we had time. I wanted more. I wanted to sit in a chair next to you. I heard you, but I had so much more to say. I love you. I'll see you later." Actress Catherine O'Hara remembered tonight. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America.